So just first off, like, how long have you been building AI agents? What typically has been your go-to to develop like the frameworks and the tools? So let's start there.
I've been working with building AI agents, starting with GPT 3.5. So going all the way back to that about 3 years ago, using that API. And I jumped in with LangChain and started building with LangChain very early on. Then adopted LangGraph, obviously, for further down the line as the architecture for multi-agent orchestration.
Right on. So, as someone who's built agents with LangChain and LangGraph, how long does it typically take you to go from concept to a production-ready agent?
It depends on the size of the scope of the contract or the work that we're doing, but it can take me a solid 2 weeks sometimes to get everything where it's really working the way I need it to work. And solutions for rapid building and rapid deployment that's where we want to be.
Right on. So now, having seen Kodey's app and product, right? What's your honest assessment of how that timeline would change, right? If you're using Kodey, which is no code,
Right.
MCPs, the prompting, like what does that look like for you?
Honestly, with using a couple other agents, backing me up on the front end for prompt logic and stuff like that, I can literally go from discovery conversation with a client to working system in less than an hour. So
Right on.
be able to actually show them something before you even walk out of the office. That's the way it's set up.
Awesome. So, and then again, like compare and contrast, right? Like, what are some of the specific bottlenecks in traditional coding that Kodey eliminates?
Dependencies, having to mess around with dependencies and figure out which modules, which tools are going with what. I think that's most of it.
Okay, sweet. So next we're going to talk about iteration and debugging cycles, right? So in your LangChain development experience, how much time do you spend debugging chain logic, fixing prompt flows, and troubleshooting agent behavior?
That's most of my time.
Okay.
I would say that's a good amount of my time.
Okay.
Building it is one thing, getting it to work right is a completely different thing.
Totally. So would it be safe to say, and I'm curious, you're not only having to code it, but then you're also having to do the prompting piece of this as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in your experience with Kodey, how does that traditional model change where you've got those two elements?
Well, we've got it wrapped in a package, so it's modular, very easy to define the agent, the agent's role, what it's going to do, how it's going to communicate with the other agents, and the tools it's going to use. So all that work that I would have to, pull in different dependencies for and write different types of agentic orchestration with LangGraph, that's all been handled. And for somebody who doesn't write code, coming into it, or even a business owner or anybody trying to put this together at scale, which I can do it the hard way, but why?
Love it.
So
Love it. So kind of as a follow-up to that, like how does Kodey's visual debugging and real-time testing compare to stepping through Python code and log files?
That's way easier. The logs on the side make it a lot easier. That's awesome.
Okay, awesome. So next we're going to talk about multi-agent system complexity. So when you're building complex multi-agent systems in LangGraph, how do you manage the increasing complexity of agent interactions, state management, and workflow orchestration?
Well, we're doing that all through the graph and the orchestration through there. It's complicated. I don't typically use the visual builders. I don't like spaghetti strings everywhere. So I usually do things the hard way.
Mhm.
But the way Kodey's set up, it's way more modular. I don't have, you don't have the, you're not able to put all these, making this giant flow map, which I actually don't like. I think it would be way easier for a more controlled setup when you're building multi-agent frameworks. So if it's visually stacking, it's going to be a lot easier, and it's similar to what you have.
Okay. Awesome. So now we're going to shift a little bit to a non-technical stakeholder involvement. So, in traditional LangChain projects, how often do business stakeholders or domain experts get blocked, waiting for you, basically to implement what they want, right? Um, going from idea to something tangible.
Yeah.
How does that process typically work, and how long does that typically take?
It can take about 2 weeks to 30 days, to really have something. I would say if I'm really dialed in, we could prototype something and have something up within 2 weeks, so they can see it. With clients, it's like, if you don't get a user interface or something visual in their face that they can see right away and to understand how it works, they don't think anything's happening at all.
Totally.
So that's one thing I got to learn the hard way. I could show them the line graph, I could show them, but it's all foreign language to them. So having something that I can actually show them the flow, a visual map of the flow, and something they can interact with, it keeps them happy through the process.
Totally. So how does Kodey change that scenario for you?
You provide the visual aspect of it. You allow somebody who doesn't understand LangChain, line graph, code in general to visualize and see in a very simple, stripped down way how these work, how the agents work, how the prompt logic works, how they interact with each other.
Right on. So specifically, how do you see Kodey changing the entire development lifecycle from where it is today or where it's been to kind of this approach?
I think everything in our near future will become agentic. I'm not the first person to say that. So what we're trying to achieve here, what Kodey's trying to achieve, what I'm trying to achieve, we're not just bringing a solution, an AI solution to businesses. We are setting them up because I can go in with this modular solution. We can lay down the architecture that's going to allow this business to add new tools down the line. Whenever the next LLM beats out the one that we're using, we can switch them out, and that's what's going to keep people alive and getting paid. Because if we're not setting businesses up and eventually every single person up with these agentic systems, then you're going to see mass failure. So having solutions in the market that allow an easy development and deployment of these systems is like, that's a huge game changer, not just for like just the businesses in themselves, but that's like our entire society. And we're facing a tidal wave of technology that nobody understands. So being able to go in and bring as many of these businesses up to speed in a rapid manner and in a way that works is going to not just save every business, but possibly save our economy, our society, civilization.
Yeah,
So
man.
that's the way I see it. That's the way I go into it every time.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk economics, right? So again, you basically run an agency where you're developing agentic AI.
Yeah.
First off, you go from that model and you're talking about you having to hand code those things. That's an expense, right? Versus a pure profit play and a speed at which you can line those suckers up 1, 2, 3, 10, 50.
Going back to what I said before, when I'm walking into these businesses, I'm selling them, first on a solution. That's how we get our foot in the door. But we're selling them on survivability. So this is a very high ticket item. We're not going in with, this isn't chump change. And doing it the hard way is very labor intensive. And we have the luxury of being, with AI advancements, I can be a 6-man team, but why? Why do that? Why not be able to come in with the same high ticket item and be able to rapidly develop and rapidly deploy every one of these solutions? My goal with Kodey is to be able to have a conversation with the client and within minutes have a working model. And we're going to be there. I honestly think we'll be there within 90 days for my own setup. So
Love it. Love it. So let's talk a little bit about integration and MCP, because obviously these things need to be flexible and accessible and, connected. When building LangChain agents, how much time do you spend on infrastructure concerns, API management, scaling, monitoring, security, integration with external systems?
that's a big part of it. And luckily, most of the big systems are all moving towards having, MCP integration ready to go. But having one with Kodey, I have a support team to be able to, if I have a tool that doesn't exist, they crank it out for me. So you guys put in the work and you'll have an MCP connection, or if it's an API or a webhook, whatever we need. But with MCP, where we're giving all these systems as tools to agents, not having to cover that part for any of these is a huge load. And it obviously just adds rapid deployment, rapid development, rapid deployment, more money.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, dude. Thank you. So I got two more. Regarding client education and adoption barriers, like you touched on some of this earlier about the transparency and like being able to tangibly give them something to see it. So many clients are intimidated by technical complexity of AI agents and the ongoing development requirements. How has this affected your ability to close deals or expand projects, um, given the new model?
If I can show them something that's, you can show a client, a flow chart or some sort of work chart to show agent orchestration. But if you can go in there and with just some basic prompt logic, actually show them a working system and it giving an output that's in line in the direction that they want, even in a face-to-face demo before the deal's even done, that's the deal. Because most people don't even understand the capabilities of artificial intelligence or how they're able to work together in a system. They all have a perception of it as ChatGPT or like a search engine on steroids, So if you're able to go in and show them in a very simple way, text in and output in line with what they need for their business in a matter of minutes, then that's a deal. That's the deal comes right there.
Love it, dude. All right. And then last one, future of agent development. So given your experience with the complexity and maintenance overhead of LangChain and LangGraph development, um, do you believe the future of enterprise AI agents lies in code-based solutions or managed no-code platforms like Kodey?
It's definitely going to be managed no-code platforms. Honestly, because of systems like Kodey and some of the other advancements, we are going to be able to, the way I see it in 5 years, just speak anything we need, whether it be digital or physical, into existence. And systems like Kodey that's that conduit. That's what is going to go from my idea, my verbalization, and running the agentic system that's going to run the 3D printer to build my house, an AutoCAD, and then to build a house, or any other, or the robotic lawnmower to mow my lawn, or the creepy humanoid robot to babysit my kids. It's like it's all gonna go from, without having to do anything. Uh, branching out, being able to run all those different systems.